What did success mean to you then?
Climbing of the corporate ladder. So at the end of the year, the bonus that I received, it needed to get better every year. The 401k package needed to get better. My title needed to grow. That was success. Work at what you love. Keep going. Take the action. Because what happens when you take action, it increases your confidence. Probably a few months before we moved, I got pregnant again. And the doctors told me basically this pregnancy will not last. And I realized okay, motherhood is obviously not for me. This is not something God has for my plans. Fast forward, Zoe, my daughter, is 11 years old. She lasted. She made it. I don't know if we're going to get to this, so you can tell me to pause, but I had the hardest season of my life a year after I started the business. And it was face plant on my knees. I don't know how I'm going to move forward. And when you're in that level of desperation as a woman, but there's two things, you sink or you swim. You're a victor or you're a victim.
When you think about the life you've built now, what kind of legacy actually matters to you?
My legacy would for sure be what I would ideally like. And starting with my daughter, that I was able to impact even one person to step into the calling that God has for their life, to make an impact on this earth.
Welcome to 60 Minutes with a Woman. Today, again, we have an incredible guest, Ann Lopez. Welcome, Ann. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine.
Ann, you have an interesting background. We are going to dive into your journey. So let me introduce you to the audience. You are the founder and CEO of Studio 790, a Miami-based woman-led interior design firm that has grown into a multi-seven-figure company. You left a successful corporate career in Chicago and rebuilt your life in Florida, starting your business from the dining room table at the age of 38 years old without a design degree or MBA. Through creativity, grit, and vision, you scaled your firm to work on high-profile projects, including Formula One Miami Grand Prix. You have been recognized as a leader in your industry and named a 2025 Business Leader of the Year. Your work was featured on Architectural Digest and HGTV magazine. Today, you also speak and coach women entrepreneurs, sharing how faith, resilience, and bold reinvention can turn starting over into extraordinary success. Welcome.
Thank you so much. As you're saying that, I'm thinking, is there another guest joining? Is that me? Is she talking about me? Wow. Thank you so much. That was such an honorable way to kick this off. I appreciate that.
And your story really shines to powerful subjects, starting over, which is sometimes very difficult for a woman due to limiting beliefs or maybe what society imposes on us. But even more than that, you're bringing faith into this conversation. And I think that this is something that is maybe overlooked or not fashionable anymore. And I love the fact that you are a successful woman who is able to speak about those two important topics. So let's get to know you more. Tell me more about your background, where did you grow up, and the beginnings of your life.
Yeah, thank you. I love that summary, by the way, the reinvention and the faith. It's going to be a great conversation today. Hopefully it will impact many women listening. I grew up in a tiny town in Illinois called Ottawa, Illinois, a town of 18,000 people. Where my family was blue collar, my mom worked, my dad worked, and I was just taught work ethic at a very young age. Anything that I wanted was not handed to me. It was, you have to work for it and earn it. And my family life definitely shaped me. And I actually think the space, the town that I lived in, while I so appreciate, I'm so thankful for those humble roots that are my beginning. But I think what it really did was catapult me into, I think I'm made for more. I think there's more people to encounter, more opportunities, bigger cities, a bigger world that I felt like a yearning. I couldn't articulate that because I was young. But as soon as I possibly could, I got out of Ottawa, Illinois, and I moved to Chicago, which is the closest big city from there. And I started my career in hospitality marketing for a luxury hotel company. And I fell in love with it because we didn't travel growing up. I don't know that I ever, actually, not sure that I ever had stayed in a hotel until this point. Yeah. And if I had, it was less than 5 times, right? In my whole, 18 years of living.
So it was completely new to you.
Completely new. And then the other thing is like luxury hospitality is another level. So I got exposure to that, which was absolutely incredible. Lived in the city and was recruited to move to New York City for a company which is now called Marriott Hotels. And it was Starwood at the time. So when I was 23, I packed my bags with my then boyfriend and moved with a U-Haul to New York City to start my career there and really start building this corporate life. But yeah, I came from really humble beginnings. My parents didn't go to college. I have a sister who didn't go to college. I was the first in my immediate family to go to college. I remember telling my mom, like, I want to fill out college applications. And she sort of looks at me like, go for it. I can't really help you with that, but I support you. That's always been a big thing. My parents, I took a path in a journey that is night and day from theirs. But what I love so much about them is that they always just said yes. You want to play tennis? Yeah, go for it. You have to figure it out. You have to pay the fees. You have to go get the shoes, whatever you need. But yes, you want to go to college? Yes, but figure it out, because part of it is maybe they didn't know some things. And part of it was that's just how they raised me to be independent and figure things out, which is really helpful as an entrepreneur. So that's a little bit about my background.
That's wonderful. I love the fact that you brought up your parents in the conversation. They do shape our lives in so many ways. And sometimes, out of fear, they might want to hold their children back, in a safe and familiar environment.
Yeah.
And just the fact that they, pushed you to follow your dreams and just go for it, and regardless of even the outcome, you can do it. If you think you can, then go ahead. We don't know about it. Like you mentioned, we might not know about it, but go ahead. It's wonderful.
That's exactly it. It's certainly helpful now that I'm a parent. I take a lot of cues from that, because that was one of those things that I was never held back in that way. Anything that I wanted to do, again, sports-wise or extracurricular-wise, really the answer was yes. Obviously, the healthy, good things in life. The bad things I wanted to do was a hard no, but all of the good things, they just said yes. And it shaped me, and it really forced me to have to figure out my life and navigate, all of the administrative things and how to work with people and so forth. So yeah, they blessed me a lot because of that.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
I'm going to dive on a different topic here. You before you became the founder of Studio 790, you had what many people would describe as the perfect life, right, in corporate America. When you look back at that version of yourself in Chicago, what did success mean to you then?
That's a great question. When I was in Chicago, I was climbing the corporate ladder. And so success, I would answer this question 2 ways. I'm going to answer what my initial response is, and then I have a follow-up thought, but was the climbing of the corporate ladder. So at the end of the year, the bonus that I received, it needed to get better every year. The 401k package needed to get better. My title needed to grow. That was success. It never really for me was a balanced life with a healthy marriage and a corporate job, or, that really, and it's not to say that I didn't have a balanced life, but when I think about my motivations and what kept me going and where my drive really was initiated, it was that ladder that I was climbing that I don't regret doing, but that is how I define success in Chicago at that time. The other follow-up to this is, like, as I look at myself today, and if I go back to that young girl in my early mid-20s in Chicago, I don't know that I had enough awareness, self-awareness, people around me to really ask myself, what is success for me in this season? Or what do I want success to be in my life? Those conversations, that language wasn't really a thing. Today, it's not very much so. I'm surrounded by so many people that we speak that sort of language, and we are furthering ourselves, and we're developing ourselves, and we're going to conferences, and we have therapy and all of the resources, right?
Yes.
Back then, I don't know if it's just me. Maybe people listening can relate. When I was in my 20s, I was just, I don't know, a little oblivious to just like living life without living, if that makes sense. Like on paper, to your point, it looked great. Wow. She's doing all these things. I was traveling the world and staying at these beautiful hotels and getting promotions and having these big bonuses and all of that. And it felt great. But I don't know that I even spent enough time really asking myself, what does success look like for my life? Which is a question that I would encourage everybody to ask.
Let me ask you a question. Out of curiosity, what you just said made me wonder, have you ever had this vision or idea that a woman should be married and have this house and have this kind of expectation, and that would be the version of success? Or maybe this feminist mindset where, having your own money and being independent was the mindset? Or you really just surfed on the wave and you just followed your dreams because it felt right for you?
I think if I look back, it is the former of what you said. It is, I define success as getting married, getting the house, getting the second car, getting the dog, having the first baby. That was my definition. And I have clarity on that because some people that I admired around me were on that path. I think about my sister. My sister got married at a young age. One of my cousins that I really looked up to, actually a couple of my cousins that I looked up to, got married at a young age, right? Bought the house and, was having dinner parties, things like that. So I do think I gravitated more towards that definition of success, which inherently isn't bad. But if that's it and you're not really pushing harder, then it can be bad, if that makes sense.
Was there a specific moment when you began questioning whether the life you had built was truly the life you wanted, or maybe did motherhood become the turning point for you?
Yeah, I would say that the moment, it wasn't a moment, it was a series of moments. And it wasn't motherhood, actually. It was prior to being a mom. I had this burning sensation in my soul that I should be an interior designer since I was a young girl, but especially as I got a little bit older and I realized when I was designing and when I was watching HGTV shows and paging through my Domino magazines, there was something in me that I couldn't get resolve on in the best way. Like I was fueled. I could sit for hours and put a gallery wall together in my house and then rearrange the bedroom and go, redesign the living room and then go help some friends. I was on fire. There was something that I felt that I didn't feel in doing other things. I loved my corporate job. I loved a lot about it, a whole lot about it. I'm so thankful for it. I had great bosses. I learned so much. I wouldn't be here today without that experience, but I didn't have that sensation. So I knew from my early 20s, again, I think it started when I was a little girl, probably 10 years old, but I think it really developed when I was in my 20s and I realized, wait a minute, this feeling I have, there's something there. And it's leading me to be an interior designer. I know that's what I'm supposed to do. And that was in my 20s. And I didn't start this business and start interior design until I was 39. So for everyone out there listening, you're not behind. You got to play the long game sometimes. Maybe it happens shorter for some people. Amen. But at the same time, I wouldn't have it any other way. That was the series of those events in my 20s, 30s led me to saying, okay, corporate America, I'm done. I only have one life to live. And I think I'm called to make impact in this space and I am going for it. I'm going for broke.
I love that for you. I love that for you. Sometimes I think it's maybe circumstances or just, finding the right moment to do it when it feels right. You sometimes you set yourself up for success a lot more than when you decide to do something and, with empty pockets and then you're the revenues don't match your
Yeah.
expectations or your dreams and ambition. And sometimes you give up on your dreams and you think that, you failed at it. And it's not always that. So it's amazing that, you did it when it stayed in the back of your mind and you did it when you felt ready.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's great.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. When I was going to ask you when you actually dipped your feet into interior design, and what drew you at the beginning, that was my next question. Now we know. I would like to then ask you a different question related to that.
Yeah.
When you realized, you want to tell us a little more about the pivotal moments maybe where you said, I'm going for it?
Yeah, it was an interesting season. So I think as life has it, sometimes our hardest seasons end up sort of pivoting us to our best seasons. You can't have the highs without the lows. And that was part of my story. Not my whole story, but part of my story. And at the time I was married to my ex-husband, and I had been begging him, can I please quit my job? Can I please quit my job? I know that this is what I'm made to do. And he wasn't fully aligned. And then eventually, after years of me asking him to do this, he finally said yes. And honestly, that was the moment. I knew God planted this in my soul since I was a little girl. I knew well before that moment. And I had been building and doing and, sort of basically making my side hustle become alive, to sort of prove I'm serious about this. This is not just a passion that's going to come and go. I've been serious about it for many years. So when he said yes, it was like Christmas morning on steroids. I'm like, I am quitting my job and we're going to do this. And that's exactly what happened. So in, I guess it was probably the fourth quarter of 2018, I quit my job. I gave my company at the time like 3 months notice. I was an executive at that company. And then February of 2019, so we just celebrated 7 years at Studio 790. That was the official first month of business. So that was the moment.
And you didn't want to try first working for a design
No, that's a great
design company first, just to kind of you just went for the big jump.
Listen, I love that question. And no, I don't want to work for somebody. I knew it. I'm like, this is my thing. I'm going to own it and build it. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I don't have any credentials to do this thing, but I knew.
Or client for that matter.
No clients, like nothing. But I knew that this is what I was meant to do. And I did not want to, there's an interesting thing. I've never had anybody actually ask me that question. So I'm so happy you asked me that question. Like, why didn't I just go work for an interior design firm? You want to know why? I looked at different firms and I remember looking at the job descriptions and I thought, okay, I was a vice president in corporate America, making a lot of money, like, all the bells and whistles. And I humbly knew I would have to start at an entry-level job. Yes. And I remember looking at those jobs, and there was one thing every job required, which was the credentials. You had to know AutoCAD. You had to have gone to school to get a job at any of these companies. And I was like, forget humbling myself to be entry-level. That I would have been able to do. But I literally don't have these credentials. So I closed the door as fast as I opened it. Mm-hmm. And in my brain, I'm like, well, I create it myself then. If they want credentials from me, I know I have the credentials. It doesn't look the same as what they're asking for. I know I can do this. The only person that's going to believe in myself, I'm the person that's going to believe in myself the most. Yes. And I'm going to be accountable to this then in a way that's going to be vastly different than going to work for somebody else. So the sort of limiting belief that I saw on paper that I had to have this qualification, I closed the door and I'm like, there's other pathways. And I think that's a really good lesson for women, right? There's not a one size fits all approach. Life is not linear. Your career is not linear. There's always solutions. There's always different opportunities. Tony Robbins says it best. There's always 3 solutions. Usually we can easily think of 2 solutions, but to get to a third is harder. And I encourage anybody, if you're at a crossroads, whatever it is, maybe you're trying to have a baby, maybe you're changing careers, maybe you're dating somebody and you don't know what to do. There's 3 solutions. And then to follow up with that, the best leaders, and I think the best humans, are decision makers. So you make a decision and you stand firm in your decision with confidence. And 9 times out of 10, it works out, maybe 8 times out of 10. When it doesn't work out and you perhaps have made the wrong decision, the beautiful thing about life is you get to start again. There's a beautiful book called Always We Begin Again. I've read it over and over, probably a dozen times I've read it. It's a devotional. I love it so much. And it is exactly this idea. We always get to begin again. Bad decisions are just an opportunity to begin again, to start a new chapter. It's not negative. It's not failure. I was strong enough to make a decision. Most of them worked out. Some of them didn't. I pivoted and I moved on. That's it.
What would you say to a woman who would like to, and we are going to take the design career as an example, but she sees all these requirements and she puts in her mind that she has to go back to school and spend that $50,000 or more, in getting all these requirements right before even thinking about starting there. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of wanting to have those skills, to not be questioned, maybe because she thinks that this is going to give her more credibility. Tell me more about that.
I knew being a business owner was in my cards. I spent 20 years in corporate America that set me up. My mother was an accountant. I loved marketing. I like finance. I like accounting, and I like designing. I'm like, I can do this myself. I really don't think it was fear. The real answer probably is, I don't want to spend 2 to 3 years going back to school. I don't like school. I'd rather learn by watching YouTube videos and going to conferences. That's my jam. I don't want to go back to get an MBA or to get my interior design credentials. It was a 0% desire. So I'm like, I don't have to, because there's another opportunity. There's another way I can do this. So part of it was, I don't want to go to school. I certainly don't want to pay. It's way more than 50 grand, right? Because it's going to be a couple of years of schooling to get your design certificate. Is at least 2 years. And then depending on, how far you want to go architecturally and so forth, it's more. And I'm like, I don't have time to waste. At this point, when I made this decision, I was in my late 30s. I'm like, I'm not going to spend a few more years now. I'm going to be behind. I want to go and I'm going to take massive action, and the rest is history.
That's really wonderful. So you decided to embrace that journey. You opened your firm. And what happened? Did you go for the clients? Did you go for the best? I don't know. Did you decide to maybe create the best online platform to get known? What was your first step to really get settled into that environment?
Yeah. The first steps of building my business happened before I actually did it, when I was 39, 7 years ago. I had been creating the website, building the brand. I was telling everybody that I was an interior designer.
Oh, there you go. See?
I told everybody that's what I was doing. I'm going to do this. I'm doing it already. I have a client, and I did have some clients. They may not have paid me, but I had clients. So I was living it and doing the work before it was official, from a S Corp perspective. Yes. So maybe it's called fake it until you make it, but I wasn't faking it. I was actually doing it, and people were hiring me. And the pivotal moment in this, I'm sort of going off your question a little bit, but it relates to your question, is I was hired to build out our office space, to design our office space in Chicago for my boss. My boss knew, this is a really important lesson that I don't want people to miss, because I told everybody I want to be a designer. I even told my boss, my corporate boss, who I worked for a decade. She knew I was great at my job. She loved me. We had a great relationship, but she knew my heart was to be a designer. We were moving office spaces, and she said, Ann, listen, we have to move. We were working out of a hotel, because we were in the hotel business. We're getting kicked out of the hotel. They're going to make it a penthouse suite, and we have to find office space in downtown Chicago. So I'm going to put you in charge of that, which was not my job or her job. But we worked in a regional office. Our corporate headquarters was in New York. So I had to work with our leasing team, our finance team, our real estate team. We had to find a construction company, everything. She gives this job to me and she says, the reward that I'm giving you is, I know you want to be a designer, so I'm going to let you design it however you want. I'm not going to have a say in it. So I designed a corporate office space. That was really my first job. And apart from, helping friends and family and so forth. And we do a party to reveal the space. And if I look back at pictures, it's hysterical. It's a beautiful space for what I knew and my expertise that I had. From there, a week or two after we moved into the space, a woman came in to meet with my boss, a work meeting, right? And she walks in the space and says, "Where did you guys get this beautiful space?" Like, she works for the same company in an office down the way that's not at all designed. And my boss says, "Oh, Ann did it." And this woman says, "What do you mean Ann did it? Like, she works for you in marketing. I don't understand. Like, does she not work here anymore and she has her own design firm?" And my boss says, "No, but she wants to be a designer, so I let her do it." The woman subsequently walks into my office. Her name is Jennifer. And she says, "You did all this?" I said, Yeah. It's my passion. I love it. And she's like, "You're really talented." And I'm like, "Thank you." Like, wow, okay. And she says, "I'm going to hire you to do my whole house."
Wow.
And so I think I started crying, and she told me, "Draft up a proposal. I'm paying you. So don't say no. I'm going to pay you." And she assigned me her entire house, a townhouse, a brownstone in Oak Park, Illinois, which is where Frank Lloyd Wright's work is. And I literally did an entire reveal for her and her family. She had kids, and we did almost every single room in the house. I took off PTO from corporate. I was still working corporate. She went on spring break. I took off a full week of my vacation time to get her project done and to reveal it to her. And my contract for her was for $1,200. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I'm like, somebody's going to pay me to do this. This is the best reward I could get. And she looked at me and was like, "Are you sure only $1,200? I'm like, I would do this for free with massive joy, but fine, you can pay me. Obviously, in today's world, that's absurd. That's not enough money for anyone to even eat, feed their families. But that was the moment. That was the moment for me. But the lesson that I don't want anyone to miss in this conversation is you have to vocalize your dreams. Yes. You have to be fearless to let everybody know, even if they're crazy, even if you don't have the credentials, even if your mom told you can't do it, even if your ex-husband told you it's a bad idea, vocalize those dreams, because one conversation changed my whole life, changed my whole entire life. And I thank Lori Strasberg, who I just met with recently, and told her, every time I talk to her, my old boss, I tell her, "You changed my life." She did. It could make me cry right now. Yeah.
Yes. I can only imagine, because once again, knowing that you're doing something that does pay the bills, but doesn't fill your heart. And all of a sudden you have this turning, this curve where you realize that this could become reality. It really speaks volume on, if anybody wants to start something and think it's hard, it's about the small things. And, get a hobby, go out there, try, meet people. It's true that if you don't know anybody in that field, you might never, get to actually realize your dreams. Sometimes it takes about, like you said, vocalizing what you want to be doing, and people are going to give you a shot. And, very often people are like, fake it until you make it, but fake it until you make it is for you. It's not for people. It's not for you to lie to people. It's for you to believe in what you want to embody.
Yeah.
And this is how it works. So I love this.
That is. And to stem off of that, the beautiful thing about this, fake it till you make it, or I would just say, work at what you love, keep going, take the action, because what happens when you take action, it increases your confidence. And then imposter syndrome decreases, fear decreases. Right? We're always going to have fear. It doesn't matter. You could be the most qualified person in the room. You're still going to have some level of fear in your life. But I believe the more you do, the more experience you get. Forget the school credentials or things like that. That experience is really what builds and shapes who you are and shapes your confidence. And women, we're often not confident. Right? Yes. I speak to so many women that are living a shell of their selves. They're hiding behind who they want to be, who they desire to be. And it is heartbreaking. It's honestly one of the most heartbreaking encounters I witness regularly, because I look at them and I see their gifts and I see what sets their soul on fire, and they're not doing it because of, again, all of the things, limiting beliefs, imposter syndromes, how they grew up, somebody hurt them. There's many reasons for it. But once you step out of that, and once you break through that shell and you do one action, and then one more thing, and you tell one more person your dream, it just takes one conversation to change your whole entire life.
Thank you so much, Anne, for that. I know you came on this podcast because you wanted to share that message.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping it's going to resonate with many women out there, because you are worth it. And if it takes one podcast for you to take that step, please let it be the one.
Yeah.
When you launched design firm from your dining room table without the design degree and an MBA, did you ever feel like you needed permission, or did you decide to ignore the rules altogether? So you had like all the, you received the validation you needed, right? You realized you had that gift and people liked it, but you did not stop there. You ended up working with very, popular brands, and this can be intimidating. Was there a moment where you felt that a firm that was more established was maybe more adequate for them? Or did you feel like, all right, this is for me?
No, it's always for me. Right? It's always for
great.
you. I really believe that. I believe that with my heart. If it's for you, it's going to happen. If it's not for you, it's not going to happen. This is where faith plays a big role. It plays a big role in how we live, how we respond, how we view. I still to this day, and for the rest of my life, I live with, like, I move forward. I'm looking forward, or I'm looking up to God, forward to keep going. I'm not looking to the right. I'm not looking to the left. Right? I'm not going to get distracted by somebody else's success. I'm not going to get hot-headed or let my ego get big because I'm ahead of somebody else. It's irrelevant, because that's always going to be the case. I'm always going to have somebody be ahead of me, and I'm always going to be ahead of somebody else. That doesn't fuel me, right? What fuels me is impact. It's impact and leveraging the gifts God has given me to live out the life that he's called me to live. That's the most important thing. So I don't need permission. The world tells us we need permission, but God has already given me permission. He's equipped me. And everything I lack, he's going to fill. So it doesn't even matter anyways. I can keep going. So that's the beautiful part about, again, living with faith is, it's a game changer in being an entrepreneur and being in business, that's for sure. I'm so darn thankful for it.
Do you want to tell us more about the role that faith played in your life? And if there was a moment where it really shined maybe a little stronger than others, and what really gave you, I'm going to say, the green light to embrace it? Yeah.
I have two stories I'll share on that. One story is I became a faith-based follower of Jesus when I was in my early 20s. I was going through a divorce, and sort of my whole life, my perfect life that I was creating, right? All of the things, buying the house, getting the dog, et cetera, came crumbling because of actions that I took. And it was then that I surrendered my life. I was at a church. I showed up at a church and realized, like, wow, there's something bigger out there, and I was forgiven. So, that's the very short version of that. Fast forward, I get remarried, and we're trying to have a baby. And for those of you who are following, yes, I'm now married again. I've had 3 marriages, and they all are woven by God's goodness and grace. But we were trying to get pregnant, and I had 4 miscarriages. And I realized, like, okay, motherhood is obviously not for me. This is not something God has for my plans. We tried, we prayed, we did all the things, we saw the doctors, and there was no resolution. There was no reason it was happening. Doctors really couldn't find anything. So we decided, okay, we're going to go, what's life then, right? We were going to have a baby and live in Chicago and whatever. And so we decided to, again, my husband at the time decided to take a job in Miami. So I packed my whole life and moved to Miami. And I don't know, was it a month? No, probably a few months before we moved, I got pregnant again. And the doctors told me, basically, this pregnancy will not last based on your data and what's happened, but This is it. Fast forward, Zoe, my daughter, is 11 years old. She lasted. She made it. And she was birthed here in Miami. I joke that maybe she needed to get out of the winter and into the sun. And God gave me a miracle and allowed me to experience something that I believe is it's a complete miracle story based on all the data the doctors told me to where we are today. And this beautiful, amazing girl that's perfect is here. That shaped me. I realized, wait, if God is going to do, that's a big miracle, right? And I've heard other stories. I've heard people tell their stories, but I never had my own. And then what I started doing is seeing the miracle in everything, every single day, to go, wow, it's a miracle that I'm sitting, at the time in Chicago with this incredible job. I grew up in a blue collar family where no one went to college. And here I am working in luxury hotels in Chicago. That's a miracle. My health is a miracle. The network that I have, miracle. Like waking up, seeing the sunrise, you can go into nature to find the miracles. They're there all around us. And it shaped how I started living. So that was a big, big pivotal moment where I realized, like, there for sure is a God. I never questioned that. I grew up Catholic. I never questioned if there was a God, but it really affirmed it. And it made me want to get to know him better. A God that good, that would redeem my story and allow me, after suffering for 3.5 years, I almost died in one of the miscarriages I had. Like, well, that's an exaggeration. It was a terrible experience. I'll say that. It was a physically terrible experience. And just to make it through that. And he was so good to give me the best gift, a baby girl. It didn't matter if it was a girl or a boy, but that's a massive one. And the second one I'll say is now more recent. And I think that for me, which is now becoming my mission to help other women, which is getting to live this life, doing the thing that sets your soul on fire to impact people for the glory of God, is to me the wealthiest you can be. It's never about money. It's never about the money. It is always about impact. And the fact that today, now 7 years, I feel like I haven't worked. I have been able to make money, but that's never been my first focus. It wasn't. By the way, interior designers, like, if you look, like, just statistically, it's not the highest paying industry out there, right? If I wanted to make a lot of money, I'd go into like investment banking or something, or real estate ventures. But I feel that God then also was so good to let me go through the season of quitting my corporate job, which was not easy. Building a business from scratch, not easy. It's still not easy, but my passion in my soul that I get to change lives by way of design, by employing people, the people I get to interact with, and God gets the glory. That to me is the purpose of life. It isn't, yes, I'm raising my daughter, and yes, I'm a wife, and I've gotten another chance at being a wife, and I am so grateful for all of that. But in the end, it is the impact and legacy that I get to leave, but with the connectivity to God always. It's not about me. God has done all of this.
And once again, this is why it was exciting to have you here. When you started speaking about it, I want to back you on this 100%. And I want to respect everybody out there. And you can translate that to what you believe in. It doesn't have to be a concept of religion but the spirituality, especially in women. We can call it, energies. We can call it, regardless of what you want to call it, there is something inside of you that wants more. And I wish we could embrace that a lot more. And I think that impact, this is really where you get to make that flow.
Yeah.
Because when you believe that you're here to give back so you can receive and give even more.
Yeah.
There is this concept of impact is incredible, regardless of the business you're in or, once again, the goals you have. It's and when you have a high achiever like you and a go-getter like you saying it, I think it gives it so much more depth. So thank you for being here and saying that today.
Of course. Yeah, I'm aligned, and I do think that if women could find their purpose, pursue their calling, release that veil, release anything fake that's not serving them, they're going to start stepping into a life of purpose. And I promise with all my heart, it will be the best steps that any woman could ever take on this earth. And it's not always easy, and it takes time, and there's going to be barriers and obstacles that you have to overcome. But the worthwhile pursuit of understanding your calling and going for it, even if there's a season where you go for the wrong calling, God won't waste that. He will use it for your next season. I think a lot of women are scared. They're like, but I don't know. I think it's this and I think it's that. It's like, go. Just start it. Just start going, make some progress, and God will meet you where you're at and he'll redirect. And, it's like a GPS. You're going the wrong way, you're going to get redirected on the right path at some point. And again, I look back and I think of, the various jobs I've had and what I've done. And, I could say, well, none of it was really related to running a business or owning or being a designer. But then I'm like, hold on. All of it is related, right? I learned client service skills. I learned about finance. I learned about running big budgets. I learned about branding, which is I started my business. I started my brand before I started my business. Back to your earlier question. I was building this brand. At the time, it was called Ann Lopez Interior Design, way before I had an EIN number or a registered S Corp. That served me. And it was all of that I learned and gained. We all have experience. Probably any experience you have can be transferred into your current season and your future seasons.
Right.
You just have to be open-minded to realize, again, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that I got to oversee, $100 million in a budget. Now I know how to run my business. I can oversee budgets that big. And I will oversee a budget that big in this company.
I love it. I love it. It's once again, it's very inspiring, and it speaks a lot about your personality and how you got away from limiting beliefs, which basically keep people stuck most of the time. So one of the topic of this podcast today is starting over, right? So now we are all hyped up.
Yes.
we want to have the key to understand how to do it. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that there is a stigma that holds women and especially mothers back from starting something new, or is fear the biggest obstacle?
I think in the end, when you peel back the layers to the answer to that question, in the end, it ends up being fear. It could be other things. But if you keep peeling back the layers one at a time, it ends up being fear. Fear of failing, fear of not being enough, fear of making the wrong decision, fear of not having enough money, fear that what will people say about me, all of it. That really is it. I think fear is, unfortunately, it's the biggest barrier to allowing this world to flourish, because there's way too many women living in that fear. Yes. And if we could recognize the fear, call it what it is, understand why you have it, and then get the right tools and resources to be able to break through that fear, yes, that's when the magic starts. That's when you can step in. And let me be clear, there's going to be another fear. There's going to be another fear after that. This is for me, when I have fear, it's my prompt to go to God. So it's okay because it leads me closer to him. Oh, but in the end, the hard stuff of life is usually the stuff that really shapes us. I coach my daughter's volleyball team, and we talk in our team rally, one of the phrases is, I'm not afraid to fail. Failure makes me better. When you think about that, when do we get better? Failure is what makes us better. Success makes us feel good. I don't know if it makes us better. I think it makes us feel good in the moment, and then you move on. Failure, it lasts more than a moment. You learn from it. You have to do new trainings. You have to go to another therapy session, another run on the lake to, figure out what happened. Yes. And it's more of a core memory than success often is. And that core memory then goes, okay, I know, I could give you so many examples of failures I've had that have really shaped me. And so we can't be afraid of that fear or afraid of that failure. It actually is a teacher. But we cannot let it own us. We cannot let it be the barrier. We're too capable. We're too called. You're too worthy. God has too much for you to allow you to live small in fear. Yeah.
I love how you brought the fact that fear is also the bridge between your actual life and your faith sometimes, because it helps you, the humbling part of faith, the one where you're afraid to, not succeed in your own terms, what success means. But then this is the moment where you're like, let me step into my spirituality and connect was, something that can help me be stronger in my mind. And I do believe strongly that a lot of the challenges we face, is to bring us closer to our faith as well.
Yeah.
This is a concept I believe in too.
Absolutely.
So starting again at 38 years old, I love that part, especially because, people used to say that you were supposed to have it all figured out, in your 20s. So no, otherwise, what does that mean about you? And now we are literally breaking the barriers, all of them. And yes,
Woo-hoo!
Exactly. And you're here to tell us more about this type of resilience. What did that chapter teach you about identity beyond titles, income, or recognition?
It taught me literally that those things are not my purpose. That is not what matters the most. Again, they're not bad, and making money and titles, those aren't inherently bad. But if it is what we're glued to and it is our motivation, it is bad then. It cannot be that. So that chapter, me closing that chapter and stepping into the calling that I had for my life, completely shaped my entire character. Because what I valued from before is now vastly different than what I value now. How I view people now is vastly different than how I viewed people then. Right. My entire perspective of life has completely changed, and it's really softened my heart to go, wow, I've been given this gift to start over. God has been so gracious to allow me in my late 30s to do a complete 180. Not even a 200 degree or a 250 degree or a 300 degree. It was a 180. The opposite of my life is what I stepped into. And I think of the joy, the impact, all of the things that have been a result of this, and the people I've served and the employees I've gotten to bring on. And, it fuels me so much to think it is worth starting over. I would do it again and again and
really?
Again. And who knows?
Would you?
Oh my goodness gracious. Yes. I would do it all over, and I wouldn't do it any other way.
That speaks a lot about what's your statement, what's your position on starting over.
Listen, there was a level, because I don't know if we're going to get to this, so you can tell me to pause, but I had the hardest season of my life a year after I started the business. And it was like face plant on my knees. I don't know how I'm going to move forward. Yeah. And when you're in that level of desperation as a woman, there's two things you do. Right? I mean, you always pray and you always keep the faith, but listen, it's really easy to say that, but when you're in it, it's a lot harder to do. But there's two things: you sink or you swim. You're a victor or you're a victim. And I chose in that moment to be a victim. So when I look back at my reinvention, my second chance that I got in my late 30s to do this work that I get to do, and then being faced with arguably the hardest season of my whole life, and I'm still here, and I'm still thriving, and I'm still filled with joy and still serving, man, of course it's worth it. I would do it again over and over.
Thank you for sharing that tender part of your life, because I think that people sometimes, when they hear stories, they want to romanticize what they're hearing. They want to say they had it easy, and we like to throw the blame at the fact that they had the momentum or the luck that we never had in our lives to make a move or change our condition. But the thing is, it's never easy. There is always there is always highs and lows. And as a woman, we go through menopause, postpartum, just hormonal changes overall, insulin resistance, many things that are triggering sometimes. And if life isn't as easy, even though you pour all your heart into what you do, it doesn't play out the way you pictured it. Sometimes you want to think that you are the victim. Yeah. And it's really up to you to change that. And thank you for opening up about it.
Yeah. And the I would say the massive change that happened in my life during that season was I did my first Tony Robbins event. It was a free 3-day challenge he does every January. And I was like, as desperate as they come to get help and to rebuild, and, the season that I went through. And I remember so vividly, and I've since done many of his programs, but that question, like, are you going to be the victor or are you going to be the victim? Because being the victim, I hear it from women all the time. Language that is used that basically is tied to I'm a victim, and I'm a victim. Well, guess what your brain says? I'm a victim. And you're going to just stay there, and you're going to stay smaller than God ever intended you to be. And it was in that moment during that Tony Robbins event that I decided, no way. I am going to be a victor, and I'm going to do the work, and I'm going to change my mindset, and we're going to be off to one of the most beautiful seasons of my whole life. And I feel like I'm still in it, like 5.5 years later. It's great. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is get help. Don't sing in the hole. Get help. Yes. Go and if you need a motivational speaker, if you need people who inspire you, go out there and find it. It's
absolutely. And I think yes, your circle of women. If you are a spiritual person, church on Sunday or whatever facility you go to, I strongly encourage Tony. Having even conversations like this is healing, right? There's so many avenues that are out there. There's too many resources probably, right? And I would just say, absolutely, yes. You have to pursue it. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to do it. You have to do it. I have women that say, man, you have such a good circle of women. Like, how do you do it? I'm like, I pursue them. Yes. I care for them. I call them. I invite them to my house. I host dinner parties. I invite them to retreats. I'm intentional with every single person and every single avenue to make myself better. That's how I do it. No, it didn't. None of this was handed. It's all work that over the years compounds and brings you to the next level of who you are. And then there's another level of who you are. One point I do want to make on this topic for women, because to your point that you just mentioned, there's always going to be challenges, whether they're internal challenges, right? Your own self-doubt, things like that, or external, right? You go through miscarriages, you get sick, you have menopause. There's a million external, well, some of that's still internal, but you get fired from your job. Your friend disowns you. There's external and internal. Somebody asked me, during this season of my life in my early 40s, a year after I started this business, and, I had hit rock bottom, and they had asked, how are you getting through it? You seem like you're okay. I sense peace in you. And I remember saying something that a wise woman in my life has said to me many years ago. The habits that you build are not for everyday life. They're for the traumatic points of life. What do you do when you don't know what to do? You do your habits. So I actually think one of the most important things that we need to think about and act on as women is habits. And if, the book everybody knows and everybody loves that I would strongly recommend is called Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Right? And there's a million other books, right? There's so many resources on this. But I remember when crisis hit my life, I had a moment. I'm like, what do I do when I don't know what to do? I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to see anybody. I'm like, I got to do my habits. So I went to Orange Theory in the morning. I surrounded myself with women. I didn't isolate. I did the opposite. I had moments of isolation, but in general, I need help. I showed up to serve at church on Sundays. I did any good, healthy habit that I had built. I decided, okay, if I'm going to be a victor, this is one way to get through a really hard season, doing basic fundamental things that is going to keep me healthy and help my healing journey. And that's exactly what I did. When people ask, what was it, right? Did I go on some what is it called? Ashwagandha? What is it?
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. Yeah, I think it's ayahuasca. That's the one, right? I think so. Did you go do one of those and get magically healed?
Yeah, everybody is doing this.
Yeah. And great if you want to do it. I believe it's not a one thing that's going to help you move from victim to victor. It's going to be a series of compounded actions. And if you build habits over time and they're boring, going to the gym 3-4 days a week can get boring, writing your journal most mornings, not sexy, not, whatever, picking up the phone, everyone, calling the person, checking in, making sure you're connected to people, serving at church is not sexy at all. There's all of these things. And then when the crisis hits, or when you're at a crossroads, or when you need to reinvent yourself, those habits are tools in your toolbox that are going to get you through and make you better than you ever knew possible.
Listen, I was going to ask you what would be the takeaway of this podcast. I feel that you have done it now. It's a very strong advice that you're giving to women to not give up on themselves.
Yeah.
And to keep on showing up for themselves. Sometimes we don't always understand what it looks like. And I feel that by sharing with us what you did, we can probably picture a little more what those steps and showing up for ourselves looks like.
Yeah. And it's so important to reiterate that point. Like, if I can do it, I'm a normal person. I didn't come from a trust fund. I don't have a Harvard MBA. I'm not important. I am an average person that has gotten through a handful of tough seasons, has done the work, done the discipline, has had thriving seasons, and has had hard seasons, just like everybody. And I really want to encourage women out there today to recognize that if God can do it for me, God can do it for anybody without question.
And I cannot wait to link all the prestigious article with all the prestigious magazine you've been featured on in the description down below, because you come with a lot of humility and you're like, I'm nobody, I'm this, and I can't wait for the listeners to see who you are and what you've done. It's beautiful that you're sharing about yourself this way.
Thank you.
But I think people are going to be amazed. And once again, that's why you have a role to play. And I know you've embraced that lately, of really being more into speaking for a woman and sharing your experience and your faith. And speaking about those amazing recognitions, Inc. magazine, you've been featured in Architectural Design, HGTV magazine, that you used to watch as a little girl, by the way, and read as a little girl. So that's an incredible achievement. When you think about the life you've built now, what kind of legacy actually matters to you?
The legacy for sure is not those accolades. Like, those are lovely. I'm thankful for them. We do what we can to get featured, and we apply for things. So don't get me wrong. It matters. It adds credibility. They're not inherently bad, but that wouldn't be part of my legacy. My legacy would for sure be what I would ideally like. And starting with my daughter, that I was able to impact even one person to step into the calling that God has for their life, to make an impact on this earth. That is the legacy. I have goosebumps saying that. I don't know. I don't get asked this question a lot. So thank you for asking me that question. But that is it. Why? Because that's been me. I got a second chance, probably a third, fourth, fifth chance if we're really, unpacking all the seasons. But for me, it was really a big second chance at life to be able to do what I believe I'm called to do, that God designed me to do in this season. I tell women that all the time. In this season, God could change. My path could get redirected. I could go be something else in 5 years. I don't know what the future holds. All I know is today I have a lot of peace of where I'm at. And if I could make an impact, again, on one woman, to encourage them to pursue this and to understand they're made for more. You're made on purpose for a purpose. God has so much more than you can even imagine. We got to play big, not small, and step really into that. I think generations could be changed. Right? Imagine how you parent.
Oh, yes.
Right? Imagine how you are as a role model. Imagine how you are as a leader. If you're leading in a corporate environment and you feel like this is your jam and this is your calling, imagine you get the impact and the sort of assignment that you get to help others, do the same. I think it's an epidemic that we're living in. Most people are not living out. This is a question I ask, and everywhere I speak and talk and so forth, I ask the question, like, raise your hand if you feel like you're doing, God's holy work, if you're doing what sets your heart on fire. And inevitably, maybe it's a third at best, 25% of people, and mostly women, because I'm mostly at women events. So I think, man, that's heartbreaking. That's a heartbreaking place, because it's lonely. You don't feel good. It's not the best way to live. So I want my legacy to be that I have impacted women to step into their calling to glorify God.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
us. Tell us more about what's next for you, and what do you have? What do you have in store for us? I mean, I know you're working on a book.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you I love these questions. I'm so honored. This has been such a beautiful conversation. There's a couple of things that I would say that are next for me. One is, and I want to tell everybody about the dream list too in a second, but one for sure is taking my current business to a level that is beyond my wildest imagination. So I know that that's ahead. I know that we're set up for what's to come in the next 7 years. We just celebrated 7 years in February, and I can only imagine where we're going to be in the next 7. So I know that that's ahead and it's in motion. The miracle is already in motion for that. Another miracle that is in motion is I'm writing a devotional for women. I'm about a third, maybe a little bit more than a third of the way done, which feels really good to be able to say that. It is a devotional for high achieving women to learn how to step into their calling and to live out their dream life. And so that will get into publishers' hands this year, sooner than later. I say this year. I should put a harder date to it. I fully recognize that, but I would foresee that happening in the next 2 to 3 months.
You spoke about it now here. We want it. You're gonna have to. That's
it. It's happening. And to me, that's one avenue. When I think about legacy, when I think about impact, I want to equip women. I have felt over and over there's a void in the marketplace for the right type of spiritual devotional for high performing women that sort of speak language that we speak and are doing the things that we're doing and having the impact that we're having. And so, you know what happens when something isn't existing? What do you do to solve it? As a serial entrepreneur, you do it, you build it. So I'm writing that, and that's my baby this year. That is I've written it down on my dream list. So this is a fun habit that I would encourage everybody to do every single day. And I learned it from Rachel Hollis, so I give credit to her. If you don't, I love Rachel Hollis. She's amazing. I write down every single day it used to be 10 dreams. It's 15 now. 15 of the same dreams until they become real. So every single day, and you write them in past tense. So any dream you have on your heart is it's just between you and God, whatever, you and yourself, however you want to view it. Every single day, the same dreams. Everyone asks me, like, do I do them different every day? How many? 10 is where I started. You could start with 10, you could start with 5. It doesn't matter. It's not about being perfect. It's about making some progress. So I've written down those dreams, and the dream of writing and publishing this devotional has been on that list for years. So when it comes out into the world, I'm going to be so happy to then replace that dream with the next bigger dream. So I encourage that habit. By the way, it's one of the best, most fun, adventurous habits, because watch what will happen. Those dreams will start happening.
And you have to write it in past tense, you said.
Past tense. It already happened. Make your brain think it already happened. Yep.
Wow.
Think about your biggest dreams that people would think you're crazy. Those are the type of dreams that need to go on there. And then you also write, like, what are you going to do today? What's one action you're going to do to move one of those things forward? Is it you're going to make a phone call to somebody? Is it that I'm going to write 1 page of my devotional today? Is it whatever it is, just one action a day that's going to, on all the dreams that you write down, what's one thing that you're going to do today to move that dream forward? And then what happens, atomic habits, it compounds. So every day you're doing one action to those dreams, and then watch, the dream happens and you're like, pop the champagne. What's going on? This is good. Yeah.
And it keeps you on track. Sometimes it's so easy to lose sight of what really matters to you.
Yes.
So it might sound cheesy sometimes, because people tend to be like, oh, writing a diary, oh, writing my goals, oh, writing when my reality has nothing to do with this. But here's the thing. It's all about, once again, keeping you on track. So if it worked for you, it's going to work for you.
Exactly. It's going to work for everybody.
Yeah. If it worked for Ann, it's going to work for you. And it was amazing. We're getting to the end of this podcast. It was incredible having you here. I'm thinking about the first time we spoke, and I didn't know which turn we were going to take with this podcast. I knew faith was very important. I knew you were a badass woman. I wanted to combine both. I wasn't sure how. And I think that when you come here and you share your story, we see how possible it is to be this, once again, spiritual being and higher achiever and keep on dreaming as well. And still having this very humble mind of, and knowing that everything that is happening to you is not owed to you, is planned for you, and you have to embrace it. I mean, this is what I got from what you said. So hopefully
I'm thankful.
Thank you so very much for being with us today. It was a treat.
Thank you.
And I'm hoping that at some point you will start speaking on stages. I think that we had this conversation last time.
Yeah.
We need a lot more of you traveling the country and sharing your amazing journey. But for the time being, I'm very grateful that I got to be here with you and be able to share my platform to inspire others with your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sara, you're a gem. You're meant for exactly what you're doing, and you are making such an impact. So it is an honor to have gotten to spend this time with you. Your heart is pure. It radiates. I can tell. So thank you. Truly an honor to be here. And let's hope and pray we've made an impact today. I think we have.
Yes.
Yay.
And one more time, I will add everything in the description down below. Please reach out to Ann. She's here for you. This is why she sat with us today, and she decided to share her story. So make sure to connect with her. Thank you so much, Ann. Thank you.
Thank you, Sara.